They say you shouldn't speak ill of the dead, but there's no rule against criticizing their work. The U.S. composer and lyricist Jonathan Larson famously died of an aortic dissection the day before his musical Rent opened off-Broadway, and somehow the tragedy of his sudden death folded itself into the show's reputation. Had he survived, two things might have happened. The musical may not have had such emotional resonance, and Larson's talent might have eventually found a stronger vehicle for its realization. Because, as much as people love it, Rent is actually pretty awful. That's not to say it doesn't thrum with potential. In an alternate reality, you could imagine Larson honing and strengthening his lyrical and compositional skills, embracing dramatic nuance and refining his melodic instincts. The two musicals he left behind, this and Tick, Tick, Boom, which has had an Australian revival starring Hugh Sheridan, point the way, but they don't of themselves represent a major body of work. Larson seems haunted forever by a future that never materialized. Powered by Dubverse. Mark Noah Mullins lives with his friend Roger Jared Smith in a dilapidated hovel in the Lower East Side district of New York known as Alphabet City. They begrudgingly endure power outages, freezing living conditions, and, as something they probably should have seen coming, demands to pay last year's rent. They decide, in the title song, that they'll simply refuse to pay, and organize a protest movement against landlords, cops, and gentrification itself. Australia's cities, enduring rental crises of their own, should take note. The plot, like many of the songs themselves, has a tendency to lurch and splutter. Just as one idea gets going, Larson drops it and takes up another. For a while it seems as though the story will follow those community fixes-up-a-building trajectories favored by 80s U.S. cinema, for which Breakdance 2, Electric Boogaloo is the undisputed pinnacle. This morphs into tedious will-they-slash-want-they-love triangles and eventually into a death scene so schmaltzy it wouldn't look out of place in a Hallmark Christmas movie. Musical theater can get away with being daggy and manipulative, but Rent's earnestness often feels like a parody of the form. No wonder it was sent up so mercilessly in Trey Parker and Matt Stone's Team America, World Police. More disturbing is Larson's relationship with tragedy, marginalization, and victimhood. Despite many of the characters in Rent suffering from HIV, it is only the black trans character Angel, played with vibrancy and charm by Carl Davila, who dies, a kind of eulogized sacrificial lamb. One small but telling scene has a homeless woman castigating Mark for filming her. It's a remonstration against Larson's tendency to appropriate human suffering for his own self-aggrandizement. But it goes nowhere and is never mentioned again. It reads less like self-admonishment and more like a Freudian slip. Powered by Dubverse. Smith brings a powerhouse rock inflection to the miserable Roger, and Mullins starts well as the show's narrator and audience surrogate, even if the role loses its potency in the second act. Nick Afoa is excellent as the lover and philosopher Collins, commanding the stage and creating a genuinely sexy connection with Davila's Angel. Martha Berhane throws her whole self into the role of Mimi, although the book asks her to do some stupid things for love. But the other key cast are uneven and largely ineffectual.